My boyfriend cheated on me with my best friend in our own bed. I didn't scream. I didn't slash his tires. Instead, I seduced her wealthy, divorced father to get even. But the joke was on us, because I didn't thought this could happen. The sound of betrayal isn't a scream or a crash. It's the quiet, wet sound of skin against skin in a room that is supposed to be your sanctuary. It was a Tuesday, a mundane, gray, rainy Tuesday in October. I had come home early from work because I had a migraine, the kind that starts behind your left eye and drills a tunnel straight through to the back of your skull. I had texted Uthan, my boyfriend of 4 years, that I was coming home, but the reception in the subway was spotty, and the message never delivered. I walked into our apartment, dropping my keys in the bowl by the door. The apartment was strangely warm, the air thick with a scent I recognized but couldn't place immediately. It was a perfume. Santal 33. I froze. I didn't wear Santal 33, but my best friend, Chloe, bathed in it. My heart didn't race. It stopped. I walked down the hallway, the floorboards creaking under my boots, but the sounds coming from the bedroom were loud enough to mask my approach. The door was ajar, just an inch, enough to see the duvet I had picked out at Pottery Barn tangled around 2 bodies. I saw his back. I saw her hair, that distinctive platinum blonde hair that I had held back while she puked after too many margaritas, the same hair I had braided before her sister's wedding. Uthan and Chloe. The 2 pillars of my life. The man I planned to marry and the woman who was supposed to be my maid of honor. They weren't just sleeping together, they were laughing. A low, intimate giggle from her, followed by him whispering something that made her arch her back. I stood there for what felt like an eternity, but was probably only 10 seconds. The migraine vanished, replaced by a cold, numbing shock that started in my fingertips and spread to my chest. I didn't burst in. I didn't scream, "How could you?" I realized in that moment that if I made a scene, I gave them the power. I gave them my pain. Instead, I took out my phone. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped it, but I managed to snap a photo through the crack in the door. Just one. Then, I turned around, walked back down the hallway, picked up my keys, and left the apartment. I walked 4 miles in the rain. I didn't feel the cold. I didn't feel the wet denim clinging to my legs. I just felt a burning, white-hot coal of hatred forming in my gut. I blocked them both. I stayed at a hotel that night. When I went back the next day while they were at work, I packed my life into boxes. I left nothing. Not a bobby pin, not a note. I moved into a studio apartment across the city, and for 2 weeks I lay in the dark, ignoring the hundreds of calls and texts from Uthan and the confused. "Where are you, babe?" Messages from Chloe, who clearly didn't know she'd been caught. The depression hit me hard, but the anger was a living thing. I wanted to hurt them. I didn't want to key his car or post the photo on Facebook. That was petty. I wanted to destroy their reality. I remembered Chloe complaining about her dad, Brussa. "He's so lonely since Mom left him for the tennis instructor," she'd say over brunch. "He just sits in that big house drinking scotch and reading biographies. He needs to get a life." Brussa. I had met him a handful of times over the decade I'd known Chloe. He was 52, a corporate architect, wealthy, distinguished, and undeniably handsome in a silver fox kind of way. He had always been kind to me, generous, the cool dad who bought us pizza and let us drink wine in the backyard when we turned 21. A plan formed. It was sick. It was twisted. It was perfect. I knew Brussa spent his Thursday evenings at the Blue Note, a jazz club downtown. Chloe had complained about it constantly, saying it was boring old man stuff. That Thursday, I put on a black dress that fit like a second skin. I applied red lipstick. I put on heels that cost more than my rent. I walked into the Blue Note, scanned the room, and saw him. He was sitting at the bar, nursing a drink, looking at his phone with a weary expression. I approached him. "Brussa." He looked up, his eyes narrowing slightly before widening in recognition. "Maya, is that you?" "It is," I smiled, sliding onto the stool next to him. "It's been ages." "It has," he said, putting his phone away. "What are you doing here? I didn't think this was your scene. Where's the gang?" "The gang is no longer," I said, signaling the bartender. I'm flying solo these days. He looked concerned. Oh, trouble in paradise. Something like that, I said, turning my body toward him. But I didn't come here to talk about them. I came here because I love Coltrane, and I heard the band tonight does a killer cover. He smiled, a genuine crinkling of the eyes that made him look 10 years younger. You like jazz? I love it, I lied. We talked for hours. It was supposed to be a game. I was supposed to be the siren luring him in to use him as a weapon. But something strange happened that night. Brussa wasn't just a prop in my revenge fantasy. He was funny. He was incredibly intelligent. He listened to me, really listened, in a way Uthan never did. Uthan would interrupt me to talk about his fantasy football league. Brussa asked me about my career in graphic design, about my art, about my thoughts on the architecture of the city. By the time he paid the bill, I wasn't pretending to laugh anymore. Can I drive you home? He asked, a gentleman. I'd like that, I said. When he pulled up to my curb, the air in the car was heavy with tension. I leaned over to kiss him on the cheek, but he turned his head and our lips brushed. It was electric, not the sloppy, drunk passion I was used to with guys my age. This was measured, intense, and terrifying. Maya, he whispered, pulling back. I'm Clay's dad, we shouldn't. Clay isn't my friend anymore, Brussa, I said softly, my hand lingering on his arm. And you're not just her dad, you're a man, a very attractive one. He looked at me, a war waging behind his eyes. The loneliness I had sensed in him was battling with his sense of propriety. Dinner, he said finally. Let me take you to a proper dinner, next week, if you still want to explore this. I do, I said. I got out of the car, my heart pounding. Phase 1 was complete. I had the hook in. But as I walked up the stairs to my apartment, I realized my hands weren't shaking from adrenaline anymore. They were shaking because, for the first time in weeks, I wasn't thinking about Uthan and Clay. I was thinking about the way Brussa's hand felt on the steering wheel. The next 3 months were a blur of confusion and ecstasy. We went to dinner. We went to museums. We spent weekends at his cabin in the Catskills. What started as a tactical strike against my enemies transformed into the healthiest relationship I had ever been in. Bruce was secure. He didn't play games. He didn't hide his phone. He communicated. When I was with him, I felt safe. I felt seen. The age gap, which I thought would be weird, actually felt like a relief. He was established. He wasn't trying to find himself. He knew who he was. But the ghost of my motive haunted me. I hadn't told him why Chloe and I weren't friends. I just said we had a falling out. I hadn't told him that Ethan was the one she was with. I kept those worlds separated by a firewall of omission. I knew that if he knew I had sought him out initially to hurt his daughter, he would leave. And by month 3, the thought of him leaving hurt more than the thought of Ethan cheating. I was falling in love with Bruce. It was a Tuesday night in November when he dropped the bomb. We were cooking dinner at his place, a sprawling, modern home with glass walls that looked out over the city lights. He poured me a glass of wine and leaned against the granite island. So, he started, a nervous smile playing on his lips. Thanksgiving is coming up. I froze mid-chop on a bell pepper. It is. I usually do a big dinner here, he said. Chloe comes over. She's bringing her new boyfriend. Apparently it's serious. They moved in together recently. My stomach turned to lead. Ethan. I want you to be there, Bruce said. He reached out and took my hand. I want to stop hiding this. I want to introduce you to my family as my girlfriend. The irony was so sharp it almost cut me. He wanted to introduce me to the woman who stole my life as her new stepmother figure. It was the scenario I had dreamed of in my angry, sleepless nights. It was the ultimate checkmate. But now that it was here, I was terrified. Bruce, I stammered. Chloe, she might freak out. It's a bit unconventional. She wants me to be happy, Bruce said earnestly. She's been nagging me to date for years, and once she sees how happy you make me, she'll get over the shock. Please, Maya, it would mean the world to me. I looked into his eyes. He was so sincere, so hopeful. I realized then that I had to do it, not for revenge anymore, but because if I wanted a future with this man, I had to face the past. Okay, I said, I'll be there. The week leading up to Thanksgiving was psychological torture. I bought a dress that was demure yet stunning, a deep emerald green that Bruce loved. I prepped my answers. I rehearsed my facial expressions in the mirror. I had to appear surprised to see Ethan. I had to appear calm. Thanksgiving Day arrived. It was crisp and cold. Bruce picked me up, sensing my anxiety. "Hey," he said, squeezing my knee. "If she acts like a brat, we leave, okay? You're my priority." I almost cried. Ethan had never made me a priority. We pulled into the driveway. I saw Ethan's car parked there, a Honda Civic I had helped him pick out. The sight of it made my blood boil, but I forced it down, burying it under layers of composure. We walked to the front door. Bruce unlocked it. "Hello, everyone here," he called out. "In the kitchen, Dad," Chloe's voice. High-pitched, cheerful, the voice of a girl who thinks she got away with it. Bruce led me down the hallway. The house smelled of roasted turkey and sage. We walked into the kitchen. Chloe was standing by the oven, holding a glass of wine. Ethan was leaning against the counter, laughing at something she said. They looked up. The silence that followed was so absolute it felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. Chloe dropped her wine glass. It shattered on the tile, red liquid splashing onto her white jeans. She didn't look down. Her eyes were bulging out of her head, fixed on my hand interlaced with her father's. Ethan looked like he had been struck by lightning. His jaw literally dropped. His face went from healthy flush to sheet white in a nanosecond. He choked on his own spit and started coughing. "Dad," Chloe squeaked. Her voice was an octave higher than usual. "Careful with the glass, sweetheart," Bruce said calmly, stepping around the mess. "I'd like you both to meet someone special. I believe you know Maya." "Maya," Ethan whispered, his voice trembling. I smiled. It was the sharpest, coldest smile I have ever produced. "Hi, Chloe. Hi, Ethan. It's been a while." What is this?" Chloe stammered, looking from me to her dad. "What is she doing here?" "Maya is my girlfriend," Bruce announced, beaming. He wrapped an arm around my waist and pulled me close. "We've been seeing each other for a few months. It's getting serious, and I wanted us all to be together." "Girlfriend," Chloe screeched. "Dad, she's my best friend, or she was, you can't date her, she's my age." "She's 27, Chloe," Bruce said, his voice firming up. "She's an adult, and frankly, she's more mature than you've been acting lately." Ethan finally found his voice. "Sir, Bruce, isn't this a little weird?" Bruce looked at Ethan with mild disdain. "Weird? Finding love after being alone for 6 years isn't weird, son. What's weird is you judging me in my own house." I looked at Ethan. I locked eyes with him. I saw the panic. He was terrified I was going to spill the beans. He was terrified that his meal ticket, because let's be honest, Chloe's family money was the draw, was about to evaporate. "I think it's lovely," I said, smoothing my dress. "Bruce is an amazing man. You're lucky to have him as a father, Chloe. I hope we can all move past whatever drift happened between us." Chloe looked like she was going to vomit. "Drift? You ghosted me. You disappeared." "I had to handle some personal trauma," I said, staring directly at her. "I walked in on something very painful. I needed time to heal, and Bruce, he helped me heal." The color drained from Chloe's face. She knew. In that second, she realized exactly what I was saying. She looked at Ethan. Ethan looked at the floor. "Let's eat," Bruce said cheerfully, oblivious to the nuclear tension radiating off the three of us. Dinner was a masterpiece of awkwardness. Bruce sat at the head of the table. I sat to his right. Chloe and Ethan sat across from us. They barely touched their food. They communicated in frantic, silent glances. Bruce, meanwhile, was in high spirits. He told stories. He praised my work. He held my hand on top of the table. "So, Ethan," Bruce said, carving the turkey, "Maya tells me you two knew each other back in the day. Small world." "Yeah," Ethan croaked. "We, ran in the same circles." "Maya is a catch," Bruce said, winking at me. "I don't know how some guy didn't lock this down years ago. Whoever lost her must be a complete idiot." Ethan choked on a green bean. I handed him a glass of water. "Careful," I said sweetly. Don't choke. After dinner, Bruce went to the study to get a special bottle of cognac. I was left alone in the living room with them. The second he was gone, Chloe lunged at me, hissing. "What the hell are you doing?" she whispered furiously. "You're dadding my dad. Are you insane?" "He's a great guy, Chloe," I said calmly, sipping my wine. "You're doing this to get back at me," she accused, tears springing to her eyes. "Because of Ethan." "Ethan?" I raised an eyebrow. "What about Ethan?" "You know what about Ethan?" she snapped. "I do," I said, my voice dropping to a deadly whisper. "I know you were sleeping with him in my bed. I know you're a terrible friend and a liar. But here's the thing, Chloe. I didn't plan on falling for Bruce. I really didn't. But he treats me with respect. He's loyal. He's everything Ethan isn't." Ethan stepped forward. "Maya, you have to stop this. It's sick. You can't be her stepmom." "Why not?" I asked. "You're already screwing your girlfriend's ex-best friend. We're keeping it all in the family, aren't we?" "I'm telling him," Chloe threatened. "I'm telling him you're only here for revenge." "Go ahead," I challenged her. "Tell him. But if you tell him that, you have to tell him why I wanted revenge. You have to tell him that his precious daughter is a homewrecker who sleeps with her best friend's boyfriend. Do you think Bruce, the man who values loyalty above everything else, the man whose wife left him for another man, do you think he'll pat you on the head for that? Or do you think he'll look at you with the same disgust he has for your mother?" Chloe froze. She knew her father. She knew his triggers. Betrayal was the one unforgivable sin in Bruce's book. "That's what I thought," I said. Bruce walked back in with the cognac. "Who wants a drink?" The rest of the evening passed without incident. Chloe and Ethan left early. As they walked out the door, Ethan looked like a man marching to the gallows. Chloe looked defeated. When the door closed, Bruce turned to me. He looked tired but happy. "I think that went well, considering," he said. "Bruce," I said, "I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't build this on a lie. If I wanted to win, truly win, I had to be better than them. I need to tell you something, and I'm scared that once I say it, you won't want to look at me." He put the bottle down. "What is it?" I took a deep breath. Chloe didn't just drift away, and Ethan, he wasn't just someone in my circle. He was my boyfriend of 4 years, and the reason I left, the reason I ghosted everyone, is because I walked in on them together, in our bed. Bruce stared at me. His face was unreadable. "When I met you at the jazz club," I continued, tears finally spilling over, "I did it because I was angry. I wanted to hurt her. I wanted to date her dad to humiliate her." Bruce turned away. He walked to the window and looked out at the dark city. The silence stretched for minutes. My heart was shattering. I had gambled everything. "So," he said, his voice rough, "I was a pawn." "At first," I sobbed. "For maybe the first hour, but Bruce, everything since then, every dinner, every trip, every conversation, that was real. I fell in love with you. I fell in love with the man you are, not the tool for my revenge. I hated myself for how it started, but I couldn't walk away because I love you." He turned back around. He looked at me, really looked at me. He saw the tears, the desperation, the truth. "She slept with your boyfriend?" he asked. "Yes." "And you didn't scream. You didn't cause a scene." "No, I just left." Bruce let out a long, slow breath. He walked over to me. He took my hands. "You should have told me," he said gently, "but I understand why you didn't." You do." "My daughter," he said, a note of profound sadness in his voice. "She's just like her mother. I've been making excuses for her selfishness for years, but this," he shook his head, "this is low even for her." He pulled me into a hug. "I'm not happy about how we met, Maya. I'm not happy that I was part of a revenge plot, but I'm old enough to know that how you start matters less than how you finish. Do you love me?" "More than anything," I said into his chest. "Then that's what matters." The fallout was swift. Bruce didn't confront Chloe immediately. He waited. He let her sit in her anxiety, but the dynamic shifted. He stopped funding her lifestyle business. He stopped paying for her apartment. He told her that at 25, it was time she learned the value of loyalty and hard work. Ethan and Chloe lasted 3 more months. Without Bruce's money cushioning their lives, and with the constant, creeping awkwardness of me being at every family function, they imploded. Ethan tried to slide into my DMs once, apologizing, saying he made a mistake. I showed the messages to Bruce. Bruce called Ethan. I don't know what was said, but Ethan moved to Chicago a week later. 2 years have passed since that Thanksgiving. Last month, on the balcony of the cabin in the Catskills, Bruce asked me to marry him. There was no hesitation, no doubt. We are planning the wedding now. It's going to be small, elegant, and filled with people who actually wish us well. I sent the invitations last week. Chloe didn't get one. She called her dad, crying, asking why she wasn't invited to her own father's wedding. Bruce put her on speaker so I could hear. "Chloe," he said, his voice calm and final. "Maya is my future. You made your choices years ago when you betrayed her. You don't get to celebrate the happiness you tried to destroy. We'll see you at Christmas. Maybe." He hung up. He looked at me and smiled. "Ready for dinner?" "Starving," I said. Revenge is sweet, they say, but they're wrong. Revenge is exhausting. Living well, being loved, and watching the people who hurt you fade into the background of your magnificent life. That isn't revenge. That's victory.
If you have made it this far and want to see more videos like this, then kindly subscribe and turn on notifications so you may never miss another story like this.